Most people want their house to stay dry. No, don't want water in the garage. You know, most people like to drive on roads that aren't flooded. So if that pipe's not big enough, or if that curb inlet's not big enough, or if it's in the wrong spot, then you have those flooding issues.
Well, Roanoke County takes an active role of the stormwater in general, mainly due to the fact that most of our lands are urban areas. And that is part of the overall program that the state of Virginia gave us the authority to manage.
My division, Stormwater Management, again, we are basically tasked with carrying out MS4 permit requirements. The permit is very hefty. To boil it down in the simplest terms, it has 6 minimum control measures that must be implemented in any program. The first one is public education and outreach. Probably the thing that I'm most fond of is the Stormwater newsletter. The Stormwater newsletter addresses stormwater management and pollution prevention for homeowners. It hits a lot of the topics that we're required to talk about according to the permit, and it gets mailed to 36,000 addresses across the county. We talk about the need for picking up your pet waste and what to do if you see someone actively engaged in an illicit discharge. Maybe someone's pouring oil down the storm drain. So we use that newsletter as a venue to get all of the messages out there that we are required to share with the public.
All our storm drain systems end up depositing at some point or another into our streams and our rivers. So that, you can imagine, will affect if something that's harmful to that ecosystem gets into the stream or river, it would affect that, and eventually it does feed into Smith Mountain Lake. There's only one tiny little area of the county that feeds into the James River, and that's in Catawba, so the majority of our runoff eventually ends up in the Roanoke River and in the Smith Mountain Lake.
The second one is public involvement and public participation. Generally speaking, the public has gotten smarter. I think that the type of mailings that we do are beneficial. People actually call up and ask questions now about certain things that they've read in the newsletter. We created a program, the Stormwater Clean Award, for contractors. Our inspectors nominate the projects for consideration, and if the projects have met those requirements, they are awarded the Stormwater Clean Award. What that means is they're going to get a press release announcing that they've won the Stormwater Clean Award. They're going to get a very colorful banner on their construction site for the duration of their project. And then once the project is complete, they get a permanent plaque that they get to have in the lobby or wherever in their business, and that plaque is presented to them in front of the board. Then we have the illicit discharge detection and elimination system, where we're trying to find pollution in the existing storm drainage system.
One of the things that we do is illicit discharges, where a citizen or someone from the community may call us and tell us that either your neighbor is discharging something into our stormwater structures, or someone's piling leaves and it's inhibiting water flow down the street, or some commercial enterprise has let some kind of substance go into the storm drains, which may or may not affect our waterways, our creeks, our streams, our rivers. All our storm drain systems end up in the river at some point or another. That's how we handle all the water runoff from rains and events like that. So it's my job to go out after being told what the complaint is, go and confirm whether we have an issue or not, and then try and contact the correct people to get it remediated, maybe cleaned up, or hey, would you just be sure not to let this happen again, something along those lines.
The other piece of stormwater is inspecting the sites. So I have a team of inspectors that they go to each property that is under construction at least once every 2 weeks, as mandatory by state requirement.
The inspectors are looking mostly at 2 very important programs, state-mandated programs, the Erosion and Sediment Control Program and the Stormwater Management Program. They are actively inspecting construction sites that are under construction, could be residential or commercial.
It's our job to go, not necessarily tell the contractor what to do, but to lend a hand and help them figure out a solution, and then make sure it gets carried out so that it is good for everyone.
When people ask me what I do, I kind of just tell them I take pictures of dirt and make sure dirt stays on a job site. Basically, I come look at this black fence that's on a job site and the rock that's in the driveway, and basically make sure it's installed correctly, and make sure the dirt or sediment that's on the site remains in there, not into the road that makes its way to the waterways.
Our main thing is we do active construction inspection. So we make sure that the construction activities are not affecting neighbors, affecting existing residences, and also, again, not affecting our streams or our rivers. The biggest issue is either concrete or sediment. So when it rains, you can imagine that could cause sediment to leave the site. So we go and inspect construction sites on a regular basis to make sure that everything that's put in place to keep that from happening is functional.
The GIS specialist is available to create maps for the public or any other person who may be in need of a map, perhaps for a certain drainage area. That position supports gathering data from different departments to compile for the annual report, and probably the most important function is to support the inspection staff.
But another thing that I really find really rewarding is working with the contractors and talking about the plans and coming to an outcome, and you see that light bulb go off in their head, and you guys can, come to a solution, and you figure it out, and you give a finished product that not only the contractor's happy, but also the homeowner and the county is happy with it too.
And then we also are involved with post-construction stormwater management, where we are inspecting the stormwater BMPs, best management practices that have been put into the ground to make sure that we meet the stormwater quantity and quality requirements that are outlined in state regulations.
We randomly select 50 outfalls each year. And so these are, like I said, these are the big pipes. They can be concrete, they can be plastic, that they go from the street and then they go into either our rivers or creeks. I'm going out to those concrete pipes to see if there's any water 48 hours after a rain event. I have a really cool sampling kit. It looks like a briefcase, and in it I have a lot of different vials, but I also have test tubes. I will take like a little fancy pitcher that I will put underneath the outfall, collect the water. I have pipettes that I will pipette into the test tubes. Some of it's color-based, so the water will turn different colors. If it has chlorine in it might turn a bright yellow. If it has copper in it might turn bright orange. And so I have a colorimeter, which actually I can compare the color of the water with the drops in it to the spectrum and see how much parts per thousand or parts per million of that particular element in there.
And lastly, minimum control measure 6 requires that we take a good hard look at pollution prevention and good housekeeping for our municipal facilities. Involved in that is employee training to make sure that the things that we do on our sites, like Kessler Mills site, for example, we have to make sure that our day-to-day practices are not going to do something that causes pollution to stormwater. Land surveyors, new to our team, very excited about this. The land surveyor is going to be able to provide some field vetting of construction projects to make sure that the contractor community is getting things right according to the approved plans. But more than anything, the land surveyor will be focused on assisting in county construction projects where we're actually going to do some building.
I do engineering and surveying for the county, primarily in drainage. Have done some boundary work for easements, like for the Long Ridge Trail easement. For a recent project in Hunting Hills, we did some surveying and some engineering design there to replace an old drainage system. It's failing, causing problems for the homeowners there. We have some new GPS equipment that allows us to collect a lot of survey data fast. It involves using a base station. We'll go set that base up either in an area with good sky view or over a known control point. And then we'll take a rover, which is talking to that through a field computer, and we'll go survey points. We'll set on the back of curb and the flow line of the gutter, and we'll figure out where the water's going and then where it needs to go, and get horizontal, vertical locations of all that good stuff so we can crunch the numbers and do the engineering that needs to be done.
A lot of localities have impaired waterways, but they don't have the Roanoke River. It's a magical river. It's a majestic river. It's huge. It goes all the way to Smith Mountain Lake and really beyond, if you look at the watershed of it. I think that it's unique because of our beautiful mountain scenery, and we have the luxury to select our own best management practices.
Roanoke County has a lot of mountains, which is, it's, I think, one of our assets. But it also does make development a challenge. There aren't many flat lots in Roanoke. The ones that are flat usually flood, so most of our development takes place on the slopes, on the mountains.
The importance of what we do is essentially to keep our waterways clean. Everything from active construction to illicit discharges to everything like that can affect the streams in a negative manner. And then therefore it's our job to try and lessen that impact as much as possible by doing routine inspections, by going and doing illicit discharge complaints from the citizens, and do the enforcement if needed. We're not here, like you said, to get anyone in trouble. We're just trying to protect our natural resources.